I was faced with the question to jump or not to jump out of my marriage. Now, when I say jump, let's just be clear about what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the D word, divorce.
Devon Franklin is on somebody's stage talking about his divorce from Meagan Good. Now, I know y'all know who Meagan Good, the actress, is. Well, Devon Franklin is also an ordained pastor, which is why I thought this would be a good time to have a conversation about divorce. So we're going to get into it because a lot of people only think that there's one reason for divorce, but there are multiple reasons. And I want to talk about it with you today. So before we get into the conversation, make sure that you like this video because you are not the only one who wants to watch it. And subscribe to the channel. Now let's go.
I was struggling with the question to divorce or not to divorce. Even thinking of the question was terrifying. Even having the thought put me in a state of disbelief and absolute fear. I never thought that I would contemplate it. Better yet, I never thought that I would even do it, but now I'm at the edge of considering it. And I knew if I were to do it, it would cost me everything. It would mean acknowledging myself in many ways as a failure. It would mean the sacrifice and death of the persona of Devon Franklin. The persona that millions of people around the world had come to know and love. I just found it very interesting that I'm out here decluttering my DMs like a good boy, per her request. And meanwhile, she's got the storefront looking like buy one, slide in free. Okay, but you know how it goes in dating, right? We see a red flag, and instead of acknowledging that it's red, we squint real hard and say, that's not red, that's burgundy.
All right, you heard it from his mouth to God's ears. A lot of people were assuming that he was speaking on Meagan Good and his relationship, and the reason why they divorced was because basically she was posting very sexual pictures, and some people were questioning, well, why would he think she would change when he met her like that? Now, I'm not still sure why they divorced. So this is all assumptions and allegedly. But I wanted to play that clip because I want you to think about, is that a reason for somebody to get a divorce? I mean, Devon Franklin is an ordained pastor. And was his reasoning for leaving his wife a good one? And now that he's remarried, do you think that Devon Franklin could potentially be committing adultery? Well, we're going to talk more about that because we will get into biblical reasons on why you can divorce. But first, I want to show you some clips on why other people decided to divorce their spouses.
Once that little voice starts to creep up in your head, maybe it's not like I want to get divorced, but maybe this isn't the life and the future and everything that you wanted. And maybe there's something to pay attention to there. That was the internal dialogue I started having with myself. But ultimately, I was with someone that didn't know how to be a partner. And I really wanted that kind of marriage and that type of life with somebody where we're both building something together. We both have the same goals and intentions. It wasn't there. And I kept thinking like, well, maybe once we get past this season, or maybe once he opens the bar. And it never happened. Life, it could be so uncertain, and I was insecure about a lot of things, and I wanted to work on feeling better about myself, practice affirmations, and that stuff is very powerful and it really works. I just started to love myself again, and I think through that process, I was looking at the rest of my life being like, hold on, I don't deserve this. I always thought I did, but I just wanted to be happy.
Let me tell you, one of the best things that I did for my marriage was get a divorce. Because that separation literally forced me to look at the active problems that were going on in our relationship instead of it being overshadowed by the responsibilities of our home, the responsibilities of our careers, the responsibilities of entrepreneurship, the responsibilities of our children. There were things that we needed to work on, but when you're actively in a problem, you cannot see the solution to that because you're moving about your day in this routine matter. So some people may look at, well, you're going to divorce your husband even though y'all still kind of together, so on and so forth. Let me just clear one thing. I've always said that I was going to spin the block for that man. He's not the problem. It's the problems that we had within ourselves that were causing issues in our relationship. And we were just not able to take the time to figure out, or not even figure out, but work on what those problems were because we were so busy doing everything else. And so for me in my house, that looked like literally taking a step back and going forth with the divorce because I wanted there to be a clear separation between him and I. I did not want there to still be this thing dangling over our head, this other responsibility of being married that would keep us from truly identifying the things that we needed to do for ourselves instead of always thinking in the mindset of us being this couple and what we needed to do for each other, if that makes sense. And it's been about 6 months since him and I have been separated physically in my own apartment and him in the main house, I like to call it. And, but I just wanted to share that because sometimes we're told that we have to stay in a certain situation and just work it out as we are in it. But I'm telling you that sometimes it's hard to do that when you're actively in the problem.
We have two women, different races, and two different reasons on why they felt like it was necessary for them to get a divorce and leave their spouses. And the reason I only show women and not men is because usually it's the woman who files for divorce. Now, there are men who file for divorce like Devon Franklin. So I figured that was all of the men we needed to talk about. But we're still thinking about whether or not all of these reasons are biblical. Now, I have one more clip I want to show you. An attorney tells you 5 reasons why you should consider or either get a divorce. And I want you to listen to them and let me know if you agree in the comments. Let's take a look.
5 reasons to get a divorce from a divorce attorney. First, if there's any kind of abuse, emotional, financial, physical abuse, that is not okay. And if you're in that marriage right now, you need to know it is okay to get out. 2, you have been continually trying to fix the marriage and it's continually just not working. You have to remember this marriage is not like where there isn't a possibility that there is better life on the other side. I'm not saying that it's always better, but if you've been stuck in a marriage that you've tried, you've put effort in, and it's just not working, don't be afraid to get out. You're miserable. You've tried to work on yourself. You've tried to do things that, you enjoy, but at the end of the day, you're unable to thrive because your marriage is holding you back and you feel stuck. So if you feel stuck and you're not able to progress, you're not continuing to move forward, sit back and look at, is it the marriage that's the reason for this? And then 5th, is your marriage wearing you down instead of buoying you up? Remember, happiness comes within yourself. So your happiness is all in your control. And then a marriage is supposed to be able to elevate that. But if you're unable to just get to a place where you feel settled because you're worried so much about the things that aren't going right in your marriage, it might be time to get out. 5 reasons to get a divorce from a divorce attorney. First, if there's any kind of abuse, emotional, financial, physical abuse, that is not okay. And if you're in that marriage right now, you need to know it is okay to get out. 2, you have been continually trying to fix the marriage and it's continually just not working. You have to remember this marriage is not like where there isn't a possibility that there is better life on the other side. I'm not saying that it's always better, but if you've been stuck in a marriage that you've tried, you've put effort in, and it's just not working, don't be afraid to get out. You're miserable. You've tried to work on yourself. You've tried to do things that, you enjoy, but at the end of the day, you're unable to thrive because your marriage is holding you back and you feel stuck. So if you feel stuck and you're not able to progress, you're not continuing to move forward, sit back and look at, is it the marriage that's the reason for this? And then 5th, is your marriage wearing you down instead of buoying you up? Remember, happiness comes within yourself. So your happiness is all in your control. And then a marriage is supposed to be able to elevate that. But if you're unable to just get to a place where you feel settled because you're worried so much about the things that aren't going right in your marriage, it might be time to get out.
Jill said, I'm trying to get paid. I don't care if it's biblical or not. The 5 reasons this woman gave for getting a divorce. Now, I told y'all, make sure y'all put in the comment section, what do you agree with? But I'm going to go over them again, just in case you forgot. Now, she did give her explanation, but I'm solely going off the titles. Number 1, abuse. Number 2, trying to fix the marriage. Number 3, you're miserable. Number 4, you feel stuck. And number 5, the marriage is wearing you down. Those are all the reasons that a divorce attorney says that you should get a divorce. Let's not listen to divorce attorneys when they talk about something that is supposed to be created by... Let's not listen to divorce attorneys or let's not take the advice of divorce attorneys when they're talking about something that was created by God as a covenant between man and woman, okay? And so I'm not saying that she didn't make some points or a point in her 5 reasons. I'm simply saying that it's not biblical except for one. And that would be number 1 for me. Now, I shouldn't have said nothing because I'm not trying to influence you to agree with me. I want you to think for yourself whether these things make sense. Now, I do understand if someone's heart is hardened, because usually when that happens in a relationship, the couples are going back and forth and somebody is not being treated correctly. And sometimes both people are not treating each other right. I get that part. But some of this stuff, like you feel stuck. You know what? Never mind. Let me just get into the reasons why God says that it is okay for you to divorce. So why don't we listen to those reasons? And then you might just change your mind in case you want to agree with old Jill here because she's trying to get paid. Anyway, I could talk about Jill all day. Divorce attorneys are a trip. Many of them are in it for the money. And they will stretch that divorce as long as they possibly can in order to get paid. Now, I just gave you a tip. Now, don't say I never told you nothing. Now, let's get into the biblical reason of why God says you can get a divorce.
A wife must not separate from her husband, but if she does, she must remain unmarried or else be reconciled to her husband, and a husband must not divorce his wife. So the Bible's just saying like, hey, this is supposed to be a lifelong covenant. There's 2 scenarios where the Bible spells out, okay, actually it might be okay for you to move there. Number 1 is the case of physical adultery. Okay, this is Matthew 5:31 and 32. I'm going to read it. Jesus says, "It has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except," and then he gives a clause, "except for sexual immorality, makes her the victim of adultery. And anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery." So like what this is saying is if 2 people get an unbiblical divorce, that actually God has not given you permission. You might be legally divorced in the state's eyes. You are not spiritually divorced in God's eyes. And he's actually saying if you enter into another marriage under those scenarios, you are committing adultery.
Wow.
That's how grave and serious this is. But what I want to point out is he said, except for sexual immorality. He's saying that that act of physical adultery, it violates the nature of the covenant at such a deep level that he's going, hey, in that case, you may seek a divorce. I would say maybe after trying to see if God could redeem it. The only other one is that the scriptures clearly spell out is in 1 Corinthians 7:15. Here's the only other scenario that the Bible clearly spells out, biblically permissible divorce. But if the unbeliever leaves, let it be so. The brother or sister is not bound in such circumstances. God has called us to live in peace. How do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband, or how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? So the other scenario is abandonment by an unbelieving spouse. Yeah. He says right here, that act also violates the covenant so deeply that it says, quote, you are not bound in such circumstances. So those are the 2 circumstances where it's like, God's like, it's actually okay. Release your conscience, and it's okay to remarry. Right. In those scenarios.
The Bible says if you remarry after divorce, you're committing adultery. End of story. Hold on, that's not quite what Jesus meant. He literally said whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery. Yeah, but remember what he was addressing, the any cause divorce where men ditched their wives for burning dinner. In those cases, the divorce wasn't valid in God's eyes. If you dump your wife for no reason and marry another, you are committing adultery.
I hope that the clips I've shown you so far give you enough information so that you can decide on whether it is right for you to divorce or not right for you to divorce. Now, don't misunderstand me. I do not encourage or promote divorce. Divorce is like a funeral. I know how hard it is because I've been through one myself. I've been very transparent. Maybe you saw the video, maybe you didn't, but this is my second marriage. And I felt very stuck in whether to leave or not to leave. And that was all Bible-based for me. I was like, okay, not only did I pick a man that God did not choose for me to marry, but then now I have to go through a divorce and basically I'm about to make God be looking at me with the side eye like, girl, like you just still ain't gonna get it right. So I was scared to divorce, but God gave me the confirmations because I'm kind of, I need 2-3 confirmations that it was okay for me to divorce because it was a biblical reason. And so I moved forward with the divorce. But the next question I had was, can I remarry? Because so many people tell me you're going to be an adulterer if you remarry. And I'm like, what? So Lord, now you done gave me confirmation to leave the marriage that I chose for myself. And now you mean to tell me I can't remarry? Which means that I gotta either sin and be a fornicator, or I gotta commit to celibacy for the rest of my life. I was like, oh no, Lord, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. but that was never the case. And so I want to get into scripture to show you where it says that yes, you can remarry. So Matthew 19, 1 through, I believe it's 1 through 9, talks about, let me make sure I got a discussion of divorce and marriage. And I'm just going to go to 9 because it does tell you a 9. And I tell you this. A man who divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery unless his wife has been unfaithful. Unless his wife has been unfaithful. This is from the New Living Translation Bible that I'm reading. And so I was like, okay, I can remarry. I can, because I don't know how I was going to be celibate, child. I don't know if that would have worked for me. And I was young when I got divorced too. But in all seriousness, this is for people who are thinking about getting a divorce or even getting remarried. If you are thinking about getting divorced and you're not sure, and even if your reason is biblical, but you want to work it out, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just know that it takes 2 to tangle, so it's going to take 2 to work it. Both of you all have to be 100% in when it comes to working on your marriage. Even if there were things that could allow you to divorce this person biblically, you still have the right to fight. I truly pray that this video has helped someone. Maybe you are in a process of getting a divorce or thinking about filing for a divorce. Maybe you want to get remarried. I don't know. But whatever it is, just make sure that if you want to get remarried, that you're equally yoked. You go to God in prayer and get confirmation that God is okay with you becoming one with that person. If you're looking to get a divorce, make sure that you go to God in prayer, get confirmation that God is okay with you leaving that person, because then there's another decision that you have to make. Whether you're going to stay single and celibate or if you one day will want to remarry, because we do not want to live in sin. So there's a lot to think about. And let me just make sure I backtrack and make a correction. Don't stay married just so you could not live in sin and don't have to deal with fornication. Stay married because you truly love your partner and want to see the marriage work. And you believe that it will. Well, I'm done for this evening. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments below, because that's what I'm here for.